anti-fragility. I love this conversation, Christian. You are just so inspiring. Let's just say it. He's going to talk to us about actionable skills to overcome fear and to build a new future. He works at, y'all cannot believe the reach he has and how he uses it to help others. Christian, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I am as well. Thanks, Carol.
Absolutely. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and let's take the dive, the art of anti-fragility. I mean, come on.
Well, it's a bit confusing, so bear with me, as you know, right? But I run a couple of businesses and a charity. I run a digital media company that does personal branding, personal brand development, and branding for just visionary leaders in general, right? So not only just personal brands. I also do performance coaching for high achievers. And have a charity in Africa, in Mozambique. We do an after-school academy for children who are extremely poor, and we give them basically Christian mentorship, computer literacy, and English classes, and sort of this very solid family where they can imagine themselves get out of poverty, and they do, right? So the reason I tell you this up front is that it sort of stems from a very sort of long and complicated journey, but I am sort of the epitome of anti-fragility in the sense that I was a child refugee at age 5 in Chile in Latin America. I grew up on 3 different continents, and I ended up sort of traveling to 4 countries by age 7 just because I was exiled. My dad was in a concentration camp. He made it out alive. We're refugees. We were exiled. And I grew up so we went from Chile to Germany to Africa, then to Russia. My mom is from Russia. We experienced a lot of poverty, a lot of obstacles, basically, right? And the reason I tell you this backstory is because it sets up almost like the backdrop of, okay, you can see a lot of obstacles, but at the same time, those obstacles can help you achieve higher mountains, right? And what ended up happening is that I got a degree in economics, but I went into music. I became one of the top pop stars in Russia for about a decade. We produced other bands. We moved to the US and started 3 different companies, 2 nonprofits. Some of them went well, some of them didn't, which is always the case. Um, and sort of from that backdrop stems sort of my current passion of serving the poor internationally, of coaching other high performers, because I sort of know the journey and I know the mindset and also know the flat sides of people who want to achieve and what prevents them from doing so. Also, what prevents them from doing so for a long time and don't stop, because a lot of them just plateau at a certain level. Um, and also this passion for storytelling and media as sort of this incredible amplifier for for any entrepreneur out there who can reach anybody in the world without asking permission, without any gatekeepers and so on. So that's the quick story.
That is the quick story of a very long and incredible story.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your mission of serving the poor, but in a manner that teaching them to fish.
Yep.
And that is such maybe the most important mission people can provide, helping others that need help and help them in a manner that they can help themselves and then they can help others. And that beautiful repetition. So thank you for that. And coming from a place that you can share your story with them. You know, one of the reasons we do this is so people can share their stories, and it is the importance of someone's story. And there's so many people that do not feel worthy of, or they don't think that their story matters, and they do not see and or feel how they could be of service to help other people. And I'd like to start with what you do in Mozambique. And if you would please share how you knew and how you helped them and what you have seen, how they are able to grasp this belief in themselves.
Thanks for asking. So basically, the backdrop is that I saw so much poverty growing up. I was poor, but there's always more poor than I was, right? Um, and I saw the extreme poor. The extreme poor officially is under $2 a day. It's very, very, very poor. And about 50% of people in Mozambique are still live on $2 a day. So that's extreme poverty. And I also that sort of stuck with me, you know? So when I sort of started doing philanthropy, I was, at the top of my game as a pop star. I was inspired by artistic endeavors in philanthropy like We Are the World or Band-Aid at the time. I was just, oh, you can do this. I didn't know that. So I started doing sort of the same thing. And we did these big events for orphans in Russia. About 3,000 orphans would have like a big all-day festival. And then at the end, there was this massive concert. And I would perform and I would recruit some fellow performers to do so with me. And I realized, oh my gosh, this changes the life of them because they feel worthy. And actually, one of my shows, we timed it with Michael Jackson coming to town, and we prayed that he would come, and he did, which was pretty surreal. He was my idol. He really had a big influence on me artistically. When we moved to the States, I sort of stuck with it, and I really wanted to learn more about just philanthropy in general. So I worked a few years overseeing 9 different countries in Latin America, doing clinics and schools and things like that. And what I've learned from that whole arch is that there are different ways to do philanthropy. And they're all fine if they help people. But my personal preference, because I was entrepreneurial, was to not keep giving people fish, but actually teaching them how to fish. And that inspired me. So when the idea for the Ascend Academy, where we would take just a few kids, instead of sort of targeting a massive number of people, just take a few kids and nurture them and give them a second home. So they're living in these slums with concrete walls, bare walls, that kind of house, it's just very, very, very poor in the suburbs of Mozambique, which is the slums of Mozambique, not the suburbs how we perceive them, right? And we take them and put them in a class with air conditioning, with computers, with sort of middle class professional mentors who would say, hey, you don't know anybody like me in your neighborhood, but here I am with you, teaching you how to use a computer, teaching you how to speak English, teaching you about character, about worldview, that you belong, that you have opportunities. And these kids, you can see them change from not even knowing what's possible to saying, yes, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a singer, I want to be an official, a government official or something like that. So these kids start transforming the way what is possible. So the philosophy in Ascend is sort of from the inside out, reshaping their worldview and then giving them some very basic tools. So English language and computer literacy, they're very marketable tools in Africa, you know. So if they learn those things while they're 9, 10, 11, maybe by age 15, they can actually start making money even before they're out of high school. And that's basically the idea.
Incredible. And you've been doing that for how many years?
For almost 5 years now with the Ascend Academy. Uh-huh.
And you do go back, anyone,
We do. Yeah,
you go back and check on things and meet with the kids and
we
those
do.
that they're mentoring. And your numbers have grown pretty dramatically in 5 years.
Actually, no, we don't do massive scale stuff because we want to stay with the same kids for an extended period of time.
Okay, we have
So
a
it's
couple of places that do that here. So
yeah,
you're with the kiddos that you started with.
yes, because we want them instead of sort of spraying and praying,
Yes, yes.
we want to nurture because it takes deep connection. And as a matter of fact, even the local school who we partner with, they were like, "Hey, so you had these kids with us for a year. Can we give you more kids?" And we go, "No, no, no. We want these kids to succeed." And then as our sort of donors come in and start saying, "Hey, can I support something?" We'll expand it based on the giving, but we're not gonna stop supporting the kids that we have. I want to see those kids
All the
actually be out of poverty. And if they're out of poverty, they'll take their whole family out of poverty.
mm,
And then from generation to generation, that's going to be a professional family
Mm.
rather than a family that can't even reach the lower rung of the of the career ladder. You know, they don't have the means to reach even the lower step.
And it's that the importance of the relationship,
Yeah.
because I can't even imagine, but these children over this amount of time are trusting, and they have people that they admire and trust, that they want to
Yeah. Hmm.
earn. And I can't even imagine the impact that will have when they're able, number
Yeah.
one, to take their families out of poverty.
You need consistent attention and nurturing. So, you know what, larger agencies, which are very important for disaster relief or something like that, like UN, Red Cross, what they can give, what they can do is they can reach tens of thousands of people. What they can't provide is love and consistency. They just can't. That's not their role.
Right.
But we do, and that's sort of the idea, right?
So hands-on and so involved.
Hmm.
I tell you, and I know that the team will put into the chat, which I can't see randomly. I can see stuff when they magically show it to me, but they will drop the link so that people can learn more, and I hope participate, and every dollar counts, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So in any way, and then follow along this beautiful mission. Um, First of all, kind of cool that you're a rock star.
People seem to think that, yeah, you know.
I mean, I'm one of those. I think that's fabulous. We have a very musical family, I'm going to say. I'm not one of those, but a couple of rock stars I'm going to throw in there. And it's very cool because you can make such an impact. You know,
Yeah.
there just happens to be, there are roles that of different, like a rock star, and you just have a bigger audience.
Right.
So you reach more people. And it's very cool because you make such, make an effort to make such a positive impact. Will you talk to us about, you know, fear? And I I can't even imagine the fear that you faced throughout your story. And I'm not sure how. I certainly understand that we are visiting with somebody who can say, you want to hear about fear, here's some fear, right?
Yeah.
I know we don't have time for all of that, but if there's anything in there that you need to share that would be impactful before you share these 4 actionable skills, maybe that would be important for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very relevant and directly connected to the four skills, right? And the way it's connected is that I find one of the downsides of living in a very prosperous, first world country like the United States or Western Europe is that we get a very high baseline of safety, of consistency, things like that, right? And the trick that it plays with our brain is that we are so attached to it that anything a little bit risky translates into fear,
Mm.
into this fear of uncertainty. What if this and this and this goes wrong? And I think my backdrop of a lot of pretty extreme danger sort of cured me of the illusion of of this illusion of predictable stability. It just doesn't exist. First of all, something can happen to me and you tomorrow that will change the course of our lives.
Mm.
And most of it we actually have zero control over, right? We just don't. And then, so if that's the case, if nothing is fully guaranteed, then you can actually change that energy into everything is possible. And then on top of that, if you think about it, the risks that we take to, let's say, achieve more in your career in a more holistic way, which is sort of why we're here, and this is the main work we do with performance coaching, is to be at the top of your game for an extended period of time without hitting too many plateaus and really being the best in your industry, right? Really slaying it. The people that don't achieve that usually don't achieve it not because of lack of talent, lack of ability, or lack of resource, is that they think that what it takes to get there is too risky.
Mm.
And if you just take a step back and go, really? What's going to happen? Like, what's the worst case scenario? So you fail one time, two times. Is that life threatening?
No.
Is staying safe going to make you happy, fulfilled? And it's not, right? So that's sort of the juxtaposition of this essentially it's like chronic fragility that we have in the West. We're just very fragile.
Yes.
So we're not willing to face hardship. Well, guess what? If you want to be at the top of your game, you have to face hardship. That's how you get there.
That's how
So,
you.
so if you don't have the skills to do that, which is called anti-fragility, you will not be at the top of your game. And that's the bottom line. You can visualize all you want, you can manifest all you want, you can, burn incense all you want. You can, you know, think positive thoughts and journal positive things and talk to positive people all you want. You're not going to be at the top of your game. Because being at the top of your game, if you want to change your present and build a different future, it requires for you to actually create chaos and obstacles, because that's the only way you build something new. Right? So you have to develop the ability to actually not only face hardship, but create hardship.
Mm.
You want to write a book, write a song, start a career, start a company, leave your job, change your industry. You are literally creating hardship for yourself on purpose.
On purpose.
On purpose. And if you don't do it, you don't do it because of fear. That's it. That's the one obstacle. So basically, the secret is, in my opinion, is learning the skills of anti-fragility, the skills where you actually create chaos, you create this imperfect things, you create obstacles for yourself, because any new thing is obstacles, any new thing is hardship, and you embrace the hardship and become stronger because of the hardship, and that's how you reach the top of your game, and that's the only way you reach the top of the game. There's no other way.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my brothers, again, number 4, spoke about him earlier. He said, we're all just doing fine and everybody's happy. And then all of a sudden somebody decides to create something and just F everything up.
That's
And it,
exactly it.
and that is exactly the truth, right?
Yeah,
And if you want to build something, you're going to create some chaos to get that done.
you have to.
And you're going to take some risks.
Yes.
And it might not just, okay, this step and that worked out and this one that worked out. It could be a whole lot of them that are missteps.
There's going to be guaranteed missteps, actually. You're literally guaranteeing that you're walking on it on purpose. So if you're not able to do that with a sense of owning that, you have zero chance at succeeding, actually.
Are learning. I mean,
Yeah.
I love this. I get so excited about these kinds of conversations. So basically, you are sharing from experience and building a lot of different types of companies and careers successfully. And as you said, some nonprofits that didn't work. But the one that does now, of course, came from what you learned from the others.
Yep.
And it's literally changing lives. So these 4 actionable skills, I lay them out. Tell
Okay.
everybody.
So the first one is learning how to turn bad fuel into good fuel. The first thing you do in the morning is you start thinking a certain way and acting a certain way. And most of us 90% of what we do is subconscious. And if that subconscious is negative fuel and stress and anxiety and fear and control, basically you will guarantee to repeat the past and not build a new future.
Right.
And basically the skill that I train people in and you can acquire is how do you get from bad stress, from anxiety, from even from numbness. You might not even be panicking, but you might be just numb. You're just repeating same old, into a state of creativity, flow, joy, clarity in
Mm,
a day, every single day.
mm,
That's a cornerstone skill. It's an actual skill. You can teach that, you can learn that, you can develop that. And I've see it over and over again, how you
mhm.
can people change, right? Now, it's not easy by definition, right? Because you've sometimes spent years building neural pathways of failure and
Right.
disappointment and disillusionment. But you can change that. And the minute you understand that you can change your state in literally an hour
Mhm.
and the rest of your day goes differently, if you can win one day, you'll win in life, right? So that's the first one. The second one is really understanding where you want to go and how quickly you want to get there. And what happens when you face one obstacle, two obstacles, and you sort of plateau a bit, or you start cratering, is that you don't have direction anymore. You may have aspirations and dreams, but there's no movement towards that. And even if there is movement, it's a crawl, so you can barely see progress, which is disheartening, which brings you back to anxiety and fear and disillusionment. But if you can get a direction and you start accelerating and you go, these are the specific steps, and I can commit to the process as much as I commit to the goal,
Mhm.
that changes the way you operate, right?
Mhm.
The third skill is really understanding yourself and having this profound practice of self-awareness that is daily, which we don't have because we usually react and not proact. And if you can train your mind to be what they call metacognitive, metacognition is the ability to really gauge and understand, think about your feelings, think about what you're thinking, almost like being outside of yourself,
Mm.
and then making necessary corrections. Because most of the stuff that we do that undermines our life is completely, we're not even aware we're doing it, right?
Right.
I
That's
call that resistance. The resistance and how to crack that resistance and how to beat the resistance. That's the third skill, right? And the fourth one is to build a life strategically for the long run on the key dimensions that actually provide human flourishing. And that's probably the most that's the biggest vulnerability for high achievers, right? So I'll explain what that is. When we are hyper driven and really want to build something, we just put our heads down and we just do the thing.
right.
We do that thing, whatever that thing is, and it could be a business in sales, it could be money, it could be status we're chasing. The things they're usually outward things, signs of higher value in the eyes of ourselves or society or whatever,
Mhm.
at the expense of the things that actually make you flourish, at the expense of your spiritual life, of your family life, of your health, of your fitness, of your emotional health, of your friendships. So yes, you can probably accelerate through that and you're going to burn yourself out very, very quickly. And life is not it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Right.
So what high achievers do classically is that they just sprint and then they can't anymore. They just run out of fuel,
You're exhausted.
and I've done that myself. One of my first big successes was being a pop star. I mean, I was literally entertaining millions of people, but because I didn't have the holistic approach to success, I didn't know how to build a family. My friendships were sort of iffy. My ego got a hold of me. Even old friendships started fracturing. All these other dimensions that will support you long term for success, they were super weak. And I just couldn't even create anymore the same way I used to. So the very thing you're sacrificing everything for, you can't even do anymore because it backfires. So the fourth skill is to create this holistic success, strategic approach, and grow yourself multidimensionally, because that's the thing that's going to sustain you for the marathon. So thriving for life, it's an absolute reality. You can all totally learn how to do that. And I mean for life, any season, 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, 80s, whatever, right? But that's basically the idea.
Well, it's a fabulous idea, incredible. And I know everybody listening realizes that that's hopeful because you went all the way into our 80s, number one. This can be learned at any time, once we're willing. Willing is such a big part of everything that we do and how things go. I do not, oh gosh, I don't want to get off. I know our time has run out. I know the team is going to share ways to get in touch with you, ways to contribute to your incredible charity. I cannot tell you how much I believe in it and hope to support in, many ways. I wish that I was so successful that I could just say, okay, here's this enormous amount of money. But I really appreciate your story and your example and the way you are teaching not only these precious people how to fish, and then they'll be able to teach other people how to fish, but how you share these beautiful, learnable, actionable skills. And all of you, I think you need to reach out, get in touch with Christian, follow along, and, let's all choose our hard, right? And let's be
Fragile, yeah.
anti-fragile. Thank you, Christian.
Can I offer something that I want to give to the
Please.
audience?
Absolutely.
So remember that fourth scale that I mentioned?
Yes.
Um, I developed this tool that is basically science backed. It's based on the Harvard study of human performance, that I offer for free. I use it with all my clients. If you go to exponential without the E, exponential.life/score,
Okay.
the tool is available to you for free. It takes about 5-6 minutes to complete. And what it does for you is asks you all these questions. It's almost like a health check, right?
Yeah.
It's like the metric, the vitals of your life along 11 different dimensions. Takes about 5-6 minutes to complete. And the cool thing about it for you is that you can get a personalized report in your inbox that basically says, okay, these are the most important things, and it's either you're doing well or you're medium or you need to work on this a little bit more, right? So anybody who is listening, you want to go to exponential.life/score, you can take that for free. We use it literally with all of my high ticket clients all the time, and you can have access to it as well.
Thank you so very much. I know how much everyone appreciates that. I think that just flashed up and the team has put that out so that the participants can receive it. Thank you, Christian.
You're very welcome, Carroll.
And I look forward to speaking again soon.
Same here.
Take care.